Today I talk about yoga, finding your joy for the game again, and ascending to the highest level. Welcome to Mind Games TV, episode 67, and today I am, day 4 of the TSM bootcamp. It's going to kick off in a few hours, and actually in an hour and 45 minutes. We're going to do like a workout that I heard about on the Rich Roll podcast, so you should check that out. Actually, I think it was Rich Roll being interviewed by Michael Gervais, so we're going to do a fun workout based off of that, and then we're going to dig into like pre-performance routines. That's about it. I'm filming this on Periscope as well, streaming it, so if you want to check out the behind the scenes for these shows or the boot camps, workbooks and stuff like that, make sure to follow me on Periscope at MindGamesWeldon. And why don't we go ahead and get into the show?
Anonymous asks, in your boot camps, I've seen you advocate yoga. How does yoga benefit an esport athlete, and can you recommend where to start?
Yeah, so I advocate yoga because this is the kind of thing that I do. So I do yoga because I did taekwondo, I did swimming, I did tennis, I did all sorts of sports, and I like all of them, but I'm not a combat sports kind of guy. Like, I'm not really super into karate aside from like the forms, and so yoga is perfect because it's like no combat, right? And it's really healthy. So first of all, the reason I advocate something is that you can mentally train your brain while you're training your muscles. So let's say like you think of like pressing up a weight, like a barbell above your head, or you think of holding a yoga pose. Both of them require focus, maximum focus, and undergoing pain, and like pressure, pushing against that pain. And that is the real training effect. So like the training effect of like being present with the weight lift, not being on Twitter or whatever in between lifts, like focusing on what you're doing, like feeling your body awareness, and just like pushing as hard as you can and getting everything perfect, like achieving perfection in the movement. That is what is like the training effect that you want in the brain. Now yoga by default is set up to like push against pain. Every single pose, you're always pushing against pain, and you're always aiming for perfection of your movement and form. So that doesn't always happen in weightlifting. Like, you're not always trying to go for perfect form. Like, sometimes you're just lazy and you're allowed to do that. I guess the same in yoga, really. And you're not always pushing against pain. Sometimes you're just like kind of doing a long set and you're trying to get to the pain. So yeah, so I like yoga because of the cognitive benefits and the muscular benefits, but then I also like the health benefits. So one of the worst joints for esport athletes and gamers in general is the hips and the lower back and the back. And yoga is like phenomenal for your hips and your back, just like incredibly healthy for them. So, and also you can do it like in your living room in 10 minutes in between games. You can do poses like randomly whenever you want that are really helpful. You can do the full series. So it's just like really portable and really like suited to the gamer life, where you have like a 15-minute break that you want to like do something healthy for you in between games, and it's like the perfect encapsulation of that. Same with kettlebells. Same reason I like kettlebells. I actually do kettlebells way more than yoga with the guys usually. So yeah, because kettlebells are like more manly, you know what I mean? That's my answer. Thanks for the question.
Kim asks, I find myself losing interest in the game. How do you retain your love for the game?
I really like this question because I think there's two aspects to it. One is if you have that desire to play the game, like somewhere in, like it's kindled, then your motivation is naturally going to go up and down. Okay, on top of that. So think of your desire or your drive as a separate thing, as like a little fire kindled inside of you. And then think of your motivation as an emotion. Some days you wake up very motivated, sometimes you wake up very unmotivated, okay? So it's like going up and down. So you can work on your motivation by taking time away, relaxing, by finding something that you enjoy doing, by playing with friends, by increasing the social aspect of it. There's all sorts of things you can do to like manipulate your emotions. You can do mini games. Like when I got bored with the game once, I just was like, all right, I'm going to play nothing but Quinn. I'm just going to become a Quinn main. And another time I was like, all right, just Talon. Like I'm just going to play Talon and troll. Like I would basically rush level 6, and then I would just like kill the AD carry for the rest of the game. I would just like get like boots of mobility, and I would just kill the AD carry the whole rest of the game and do nothing else. And I actually won a lot of games like that, like an insane amount, because apparently tilting somebody is like the best method to win League of Legends. But like, yeah, find mini games, ways of enjoying the game. I get pleasure out of other people's unpleasure, so like making him cry was like good for my soul. I'm kind of a mean person in games, I guess. That's why World of Warcraft is such a good game for me, because like you just basically like sit around and collect your own items. It doesn't really impact other people all that much. But yes, I was in Stranglethorn Vale, killing level 40s. I'm sorry. All right. Let's go on to the next. Oh yeah, so that's the motivational aspect. Then you have that inner fire, right? The desire, the drive. Okay, that is something that only you can install. So nothing you can do or try to do can manipulate that. Like you either have that drive, that like desire and the reason for doing something, or you don't. And for that, you kind of need to find your reason or your why. You need to look inside and see, am I driven to do this thing? So I am driven to play computer games. Like I haven't played in like maybe 8 months, and last night I played League of Legends for the first time in 8 months, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember why I love this life and this game so much. And so I think that like that inner drive is something that you just have to decide, like, do you have it or not? And if you don't, just move on as quickly as possible. Maybe it'll come back later, who knows? But don't sit around and try to be motivated about something you cannot accomplish. Like my job as an English teacher, I sat around in that job like by basically 2 years too long. Like my drive for that had gone away, and I tried to motivate myself to do it, and just ended in frustration and pain and annoyance. So like the sooner I kick it to the curb, the better. And I say that about everything. Like, why do something if you're not driven for it? Like, find something that actually motivates you, and then worry about your motivation. If you're trying to motivate yourself on top of nothing, you have no fire underneath, you're just in for a lot of heartache.
Paythe asks, is it possible for everyone to ascend to the highest level?
Talent does not exist in the way that like people think talent exists. Like they look at a sports star and they say, wow, he's so talented at League of Legends. He's so talented at soccer. No, we're not genetically selected like through natural selection to be good at soccer or to be good at League of Legends. There's no talent for a sport or something like that. However, there is a talent for things like focus. There's a talent for things like there's like 40% to 60% genetic lottery for being cool under pressure. So like you were born the kind of person who's going to be cool under pressure, or you weren't. So like that's not a bad thing, because being cool under pressure means that you're not really able to be on task like outside of pressure, because the pressure situation is what activates you. So like you could think of like that as a problem in some cases, because you have to train so long without pressure. And then so like there's people who like can't train very well, but then they perform excellently, and there's people who like train very well and then they can't perform well. So you each have your own demons to kind of conquer in your growth. But basically what we've discovered in the research on talent detection is that the number one overarching absolute and only talent is motivation. Is your ability to drive yourself to the extreme levels of performance every day, all day, every day, all day, without break. And if you can do that, then you can succeed. That is the differentiating factor between high performers and no performers, between the best and the greatest. So so yes, there is kind of a talent, because the talent is being able to apply yourself, and that's a combination of like a little bit of genetics, a little bit of like how you're raised, your nurture, like your environment, like what is it that gives people that insane drive to have the kind of focus necessary that when they train, they gain more ground than the other person training. Because we've all seen that. We've seen people who train 8 hours and people who train 8 hours, and one person ends up better. That's because of their level of focus and commitment to the training, their ability to undergo pain for the sake of growth, their ability to say, like, and it needs to be, and I'm not going to rest and forgive myself until, like, this is better. And so perfectionism is, like, actually kind of a problem in, like, sport in a way, or in life in a way. Like people think of perfectionism as a bad thing, but in a lot of ways perfectionism is one of the things that leads to like high performance. And so like this like negative attribute becomes like somewhat like a positive thing in a way, although eventually it limits you. So it's not actually the best path to perfection, because it like prevents you from taking the risks necessary sometimes. But if you look at like a lot of like high quality esport athletes, like a lot of them are perfectionists. So you can start that way and transition, I like to think. Yeah, so that's my answer about talent, and I hope it was helpful. And I want to end today's show on a quote by Brett Favre, who was a quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, and who's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. And he says, "Most talented players don't always succeed. Some don't even make the team. It's more what's inside." So this is speaking to like the standout star who's like really good young and early and thinks like I'm so talented. They don't actually have the work ethic and the grit to keep on that because they think that they should be more talented and they should get the easy win. So like losing the game is threatening to them because it means that they're not talented anymore. Whereas for people who have grit and motivation and determination, like losing the game is just a sign that they have somewhere to go still. So that's one of the reasons that like thinking that you have talent early on is pretty dangerous, and maybe not having talent is the correct mindset to push forward. Like, for example, Michael Jordan, who was like, "You're not good enough to be on this college basketball team, sorry." He was like, "To heck I'm not, frickin' A." And then he became the greatest basketball player ever. All right, so thanks for the show, and I will see you guys next time. Follow me on Periscope at MindGamesWeldon. Hello.